Boom! Very good. Great
nice
putt.
Roll.
This is my favorite book about playing golf. I thought all I'd do in this video today is just walk you through 5 of my favorite tips that I've taken away from this and what they've meant for me.
A reading rainbow.
Grand total of 271.
I think this video is going to be really relevant no matter what your skill level is, really. So if you're a very seasoned player, if you're a scratch player trying to get down even lower, or if you're a bogey golfer or just an absolute beginner, the principles that Raymond Floyd lays out in this book are just incredible. Very little of the book is about swinging the golf club. It's all about how to use your mind and how to think around the course and score better. He did not have the prettiest golf swing. 1976 Masters, 2 PGAs, 1986 US Open. Many people know that 5 players have achieved the modern Grand Slam. How many players are missing only 1 major? Leave your answer in the comments below. I'll pick one of the correct answers and I will send you, I'll send you one of these, a sleeve of TITLEIST Professional 90s. The Tiger won the 1997 Masters with, though, and they're pretty cool. I mean, just look at these things. They're beautiful, and I found these on eBay. I buy all sorts of crap on eBay, but this is something that I'm going to be taking to a TrackMan, hitting side by side with a Pro V1 and just seeing how it goes. Very curious to see how these sound and feel vis-a-vis the modern golf ball and how the distance compares, that sort of thing. Tip number 1, know the definition of scoring. So what Floyd says is, to me, a scorer is someone who consistently gets the most from his skill level, who often shoots scores that are better than the way he or she hits the ball, and who in that sense regularly beats the golf course. You don't just measure golf by the score you shot that day. You have to take into account all sorts of things, but among that is, the weather and the conditions on the course, where the pins were placed that day. Was it a competitive round? Was it a medal play round? Was it a match play round? And then on top of that, probably more important than anything, what condition was your own game in that day? And how well did you perform vis-a-vis what you were capable of doing that day? The reason people don't shoot lower scores, to be blunt, is that most people don't know how to play. Not how to swing or how to hit the ball farther, how to play the game. Here's the hard truth. If I somehow was given your physical game and we had a match, I would beat you 99 times out of 100 because I know how to play the game better than you did. So you need to play to your probabilities and don't force yourself to be perfect every time. You need to know when to be aggressive and know when to back off a little bit. 18 holes is a long round, 72 holes is a very long tournament. And by and large, if you watch the really good players over the years, they play pretty conservatively. They get themselves in position. Maybe on Saturday they get pretty aggressive if they need to, but by and large, unless it's maybe a nationwide tour event, web.com tour? Corn Ferry tour events, you got to fire at every pin just to make the cut because the courses are set up easier. But on the PGA Tour, on the more difficult courses, what you tend to see is guys playing a little bit more conservatively, just trying to jockey themselves up slowly, avoid the double bogeys, make the birdies when you can, but largely back off. All right. Tip number 2, play comfortable. So I think this is probably the best advice I can give anybody about playing golf in general. And Mr. Floyd says, to me, playing comfortable means understanding what you're capable of and playing at a level just inside that boundary. It's also called playing within yourself. It means playing golf the easiest way you can, avoiding high-risk shots in favor of safe ones, swinging easy instead of hard, playing shots that allow you to relax rather than to feel pressure. And I think this is something that I've really tried to take to heart over the last few years in my game, and when I've been able to do it, it makes a huge difference. But it's also probably one of the hardest things for your ego to take because it's just, nobody wants to just play like an old man. Every hole and every shot, there's a high, medium, and low risk option. And you have to think about it in the context of that hole and in the context of your round and in the context of the competition. And sometimes I can't even hit a driver for the life of me. And on those days, I'm going to be taking a lot of irons off the tee, and that's okay. This one I think is really good, and I think it speaks to just how smart a player Raymond Floyd was. But he said to look at the hole as an architect would. And I think all else equal, somebody who has an appreciation for golf course architecture will have a better idea of scoring than someone who doesn't. And this comes from Mr. Floyd. He says, a well-designed golf hole has alternate routes that are based on the concept of risk versus reward. Generally, there is a bold route off the tee that requires more risk, but if successful, has a proportionate reward and a good chance of birdie. There is a safer route also that leaves a longer and more difficult second shot, but is easier to execute. So for where I'm at right now, I'm a 10 handicap. 9 times out of 10, the latter option, the safer, more conservative option, is going to be the right one for me because it takes the big numbers out of play. It takes penalty strokes out of play. It gives me a very good chance at making par, outside chance at making birdie, and almost no chance of making a double or worse. So if I can go around the round, play to the fat parts of the fairway, aim my misses to wind up in the right places, I can shoot pretty low scores. Now you do have to think of the converse example of that though. If a hole is poorly designed, what that means is that the risk reward isn't proportional. And you got to think about how your own game fits into that too. So let's say that there's a 350-yard dogleg left, but the right is wide open, and you haven't hit a draw in 5 years of playing golf. You should by all means go ahead and hit driver on that hole and just let it rip. Sometimes course designers just flub a hole, or maybe it's an old course where the real estate got bought up and the holes got all mashed up and now it's just no longer that good a golf hole, but you got to take what the course is going to give you that day. Check out what's in here. Oh, that is filthy. So good. So good. If you haven't heard of this, this is one of the coolest brands out there. This came just in time for Christmas, which I'm so happy about. All right, tip number 4. So I've always heard the tip thin to win from better players, but for some reason when I saw it in this book, it was sort of a holy shit moment. What Floyd says is, if you go out on the practice ranges on the PGA Tour, you won't always hear the rich sound of perfectly flushed irons. More than occasionally, it will be the clank of skinny contact. But pros will take that shot over a chubby one any day. A shot hit thinly will carry nearly as far as a solid one and will still spin and sit down. A fat shot carries less and spins less. And Floyd also promotes a more sweeping motion that takes very little divot. And a quick aside on the thin shot and why does it spin more. This is a 6-iron here, and what we're going to talk about real quick is just gear effect. So first principle is, if you hit it anywhere off center, it's going to do something to the face. This is the easiest example. If it hits the toe, it's going to deflect the club that way. All right, all else equal. So the second principle is that the face and the club work like a gear, just like that. So if you toe it and it deflects and it gears, that means when you toe it, it will spin that way and it will hook. Now, I didn't even know this until maybe just a few years ago. I'd always heard people talk about gear effect. I had no idea what it actually meant, but that's what it means. So this is horizontal gear effect. If you hit it in the heel, Jack Nicklaus called this his necky fade. You can hit it toward the heel, the face deflects that way, which spins the ball to the right, like that. So that's horizontal gear effect. When you're talking about vertical gear effect, if you hit the ball real flush on the right groove, then you get the right trajectory. There's not a lot of deflection. But if you hit it real thin, like maybe a groove or two too low, the face goes like that, and that puts backspin on the ball. All else equal, a little bit more backspin than a purely hit shot on the right groove. Now, for the last tip in this particular video, I wanted to focus on the shortest but maybe the most important shot of them all, which is the putt. And I think Floyd's tip captures something that's pretty subtle, but I think is as close to a short game shortcut as anything out there. So what Floyd says is that attitude is the real bottom line in putting. I think one of the best ways to make yourself a good putter is to have what I call presence on the greens. Without being obnoxiously demonstrative, be arrogant on the greens. Relish your opportunity to putt. When it's your turn, you're on stage. Perform. This is the key to pressure putting, wanting it. So carry yourself with confidence on the greens, even if you've got to pose a little. So think about the early walk, the walk in point, the go get that, the no looker. Good putters, I think, are all a little bit cocky and have a lot of belief in what they're doing. And I think if more people spent more time putting, they'd really start to look forward to that part of the hole and that part of the game a lot more. It's the one part of the game that anybody can be good at if you have the right mentality, if you know the right things about green reading, and if you can develop a good stroke that performs under pressure. It's all just about creativity and confidence, but this tip I think is just an awesome way to accelerate your putting development and really get good at kind of those really critical like 6 to 10 foot putts that can really make the difference in your round. Those are 5 of my favorite lessons from the master himself. Again, if you like this kind of golf content, please be sure to consider subscribing, put that bell on. It's free and I think it brings a lot of value to players of all skill levels. If you're still here, leave your favorite line from any golf movie and I'll work it into the introduction for the next video. I think there's going to be something for everybody on this channel. If you know any beginners, like total beginners who are just getting into golf right now and don't really have that player in their life who's kind of showing them the ropes, please let them know about my channel, because I'm going to be doing a whole series about how to start golf from zero, and specifically how to do it if you don't have somebody like teaching you everything there is to know about it, like all the etiquette and how to buy equipment and what to do on the course and how to approach it and how long is it going to take and how good am I supposed to be and how to think about pace of play and da 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 da. I think everybody who's serious about the game had somebody in their life that taught them how to play. For me, that was my dad. But I'd like this video series to serve lots of people who don't have that in their lives and who think that maybe golf isn't even possible for them. Make sure to make this as accessible as possible. This stuff is all free. And this video series will really just give somebody who knows nothing about golf everything that they would ever need to know to start playing the game and to even get up to a really high level. Lots of people think that golf isn't even a possibility for them because they either think it's too expensive or they think that, oh, it's going to be too hard, it's going to take way too long. And yeah, there is a steep learning curve to it, but if you go about it and approach it the right way, I don't think there's any reason that it has to be so painful. And it can be really fun along the way too. It's great to be seeing so many new people playing the game lately and to see golf finally growing again. But basically I want to just share a lot of what I've learned about golf over the years and try to make the game more accessible for beginners in a different way. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have more ideas for books that you want to see reviewed down here, put them down in the comment section below if you have any favorites that you think I would like to. I haven't read all of them yet, so please do let me know. And if you have any ideas for further golf videos too, of things you want to see. My mouth got like unbelievably dry. It's so nerve-wracking. I don't know why. It just is. This is so much harder than it looks. It's weird. It's so hard. But man, if you're thinking about starting a YouTube channel, get ready. That's worse than first tee jitters for sure, because it lasts for like 40 minutes as you're doing your cuts. From where